Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, host of Vancouver Island Time and Community Talks. I'm here today with Belle White. Belle White's going to be talking to us about 5 social media marketing essentials and what you need to know today in today's market, obviously. Welcome, Belle. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, Jane.
No problem. So a lot of people think they know what social media marketing is. Maybe you can expand on it a bit. Tell us how would you define it?
Totally. So I think social media marketing is really just kind of as simple as it sounds. And I think sometimes people try to overcomplicate it quite a lot. And I think if you have a business and you're on social media and you're trying to engage your audience on social, like that is social media marketing. So it's anything that like grows your business or engages your clients or shares your story. So it's really anything that kind of improves your business across any platforms. And there's so many platforms too. I think a lot of people really assume it's just either Facebook and Instagram, but people do amazing marketing on Twitter, and even Pinterest is so amazing for certain kinds of businesses, like bloggers or any kind of lifestyle business, or even retail, like so amazing for clothing. So yeah, it's really fun kind of seeing how many different kinds of platforms people can use to market all their different unique businesses.
So do you find that certain, like real estate, would it go well on Pinterest?
I think anything can go well on Pinterest. I think Pinterest is really cool because it's not actually a like social platform. So you don't actually engage with anyone directly on the platform like you would with Facebook or even Twitter. So Pinterest is actually a search engine. So it's just a really visual search engine. So if you have amazing photography or if you have access to any kind of design software, and actually there's a bunch of free software you can get, such as like Canva is just right on your desktop. You can get it and it's totally free. You can actually create anything. So even putting a little quote about, finding your dream home and using that to direct people back to listings or your website or something unique about your real estate philosophy. So it's more of a search engine. So you just have to create something visual to go with what you're trying to get people to search for.
And so I'm imagining the use of hashtags is really important for something like Pinterest.
So Pinterest actually not quite as much about hashtags. It's more about frequently posting, and we'll talk about that when we talk about like the essentials. Hashtags are of course great, but I think that more so it's just making sure you're posting on it regularly and that you're repinning things. So the algorithm on that one is really based on how much you use it. So how much you post on it, how many of your links work. So if you have broken links, it starts to kind of deteriorate. But if all your links, go back to websites that are reliable, then actually just posting on it more and more and repinning other people's posts is what kind of drives people back to your page.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so what are the 5 social media marketing essentials?
So these are just my essentials. So these are definitely not,
Awesome.
no, not like from a textbook or anything. I'm self-taught, but I've been doing this for 2 years and I've really found there's like 5 things and they're quite basic. You don't need to be an expert to do any of them, but I think sometimes they're undervalued.
Hold on,
So
I'm gonna get my pen. Okay, go ahead. Number 1.
So number 1 is storytelling. So it's about knowing the story behind your brand. So if you, started your business when you were a single mom or, a single parent, you have this huge, growth story, like people want to know about that. And I think that's one thing that consumers are looking for more and more is something to relate to or something to kind of identify with more in a brand. So if a brand has a bunch of values or anything like that, that is what you want to be presenting over social. So making sure you're telling your story as much as possible and not just selling all the time. Like people want to fall in love with your brand or you as a person, and then they want to buy what you're selling, right? So
Right.
that's number 1. And then number 2 is knowing your target audience. So a lot of people kind of say, "Oh, my target audience is everybody," but no one's target audience is everybody.
They say that.
Yeah, totally. We try, but so knowing your target audience, I think most people don't actually know who their target audience is, and it can still be broad. I think it's important to remember it could still be like all Victoria locals or something, but it has to be kind of niche down enough so that you can actually speak directly to that person. So, for example, marketing directly to people who have enough money to own a home, and that you might feel like, oh, well, that's kind of everybody or most people, but it's actually you have to remember you're speaking to people who own a certain amount of money or have a certain kind of job or are in the market for, waterfront real estate or whatever you're kind of talking about. I think it's really important to know exactly who you're talking to so that when you're creating your captions or you're putting your photos together, you know what they want to do from that.
Right. And that ties into your story and your brand.
Of course. Yeah. And all of these really do tie together. So the next one, so number 3 is engagement. That's pretty simple. It's just you have to engage with that target audience. So something that I really suggest, and I'll suggest this again at the end, about kind of takeaways you can take from this is I really recommend taking about even just 10 minutes a day and going on to maybe your favorite platform or trying a different platform every day and really just engaging. So going in and not just replying to people's comments, but actually going to their pages, commenting on something that they've posted, and really noticing how that creates like more community online. So I think if you own a business and you're wanting to make sure people come buy your food or whatever it is, then if you are engaging with people who have maybe liked your posts before, or you've noticed they've commented a couple times, if you go back to their page and, comment on something that they're doing, it really makes people feel like more connected to your brand and more engaged in it. So that's number 3. Number 4 is my favorite one because it's so easy.
I just want to say, so really in number 3, it's about be interested in your content rather than be interesting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Number 4 is your favorite.
Number 4 is my absolute favorite, just because it honestly is so easy. It's just consistency. So it's just showing up regularly. Jane, you do this so well, let me just say.
Yeah, Danielle, I do this so well.
So consistency, honestly, it just means you consistently show up on whatever platform. So like, not everyone loves the same platforms, and that's totally fair. So I love Instagram. I think most people really do. But some people don't. My boyfriend really likes Twitter. He really likes going on there and like reading about news and all the updates. So everyone kind of has platforms they like more, but if you show up regularly on that platform, and you don't have to do it every day. I know that sometimes can be a bit overwhelming for people to post every single day, but like I always recommend, well, if you can't do every day, pick like 3 days of the week and you're going to post on those days, like have almost like a schedule. You can totally schedule posts too. I know a lot of businesses are doing really well at that, but showing up on, your platforms regularly is actually one of the number 1 predictors of being successful long-term, because a lot of people, they go and they post every single day and then they get bored and then they stop. And then everyone who was going and looking at all their content regularly, it's like, oh, what are these people doing? They're obviously not there anymore. And then people go away and they don't keep following you, or they get disappointed. And so I think it's just so easy. Like if you just show up regularly, people are going to know that they can rely on your content and continue grabbing value from it.
It's the same thing with just networking in general. I find a lot of people, it's cyclical. If you were to look at it, I would say there's 6 cycles in a year. And the biggest difference between somebody who shows up consistently and doesn't is people trust them because they know.
Totally. It's being reliable. It's like being a human or a friend or something. Yeah. If you're only there for the good times, then no one's going to want to be your friend long term. And then just the last one is, it's a bit of a larger one, but it's high quality content that creates value for your audience. So I just like to think of this as high quality value. So this is, again, in the grand scheme of things, not actually that hard. So it's just not posting for the sake of posting. And that's why I say, if you don't feel like you can come up with, 7 pieces of super valuable content every week, just pick 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you're covering your week, and you know that you can come up with 3 really, valuable pieces of content. But that's really important because people are going to, again, it's all about building like trust and a relationship. So people are going to keep coming back if your content is telling your story, it's engaging, you're engaging back with them. And it's also just really high quality. Like people just really want something that gives them value. And then if they feel like they are receiving value, they'll want to give you value back, like sales.
Right. So, it's interesting. I was on a call this morning. We were talking a lot. We were talking about sales and people were talking about money. And I'm like, to me, sorry, money is not the factor.
Mm-hmm.
It's the trust factor, because without the trust factor, there will be no sale, correct?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. So let me just see if I have something to drink here. Well, I talk to my husband about this all the time. To me, social media is so essential for your business, because without it, it's like the former newspaper, or the yellow pages. You have to. I'm gonna. Katrina.
Oh no. Poor Jane.
Katrina, can you get me a glass of water, please? Sorry, I've got it. It's free, for crying out loud.
Totally.
And it's so effective. And what happens is you get these people who are mavens who are doing research.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're on their radar, you're going to be the key, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to want to choose you because you're the one who's showing up in front of their face. So how is it important in today's business?
So I think what you just said is spot on. And I think that really speaks to the consistency and the building trust, right? So if you're engaging with your audience and you're showing up regularly, then you're going to be the first person they think of when they think of, oh, I want to buy a house, or I want to get a new pair of shoes. So I think just staying top of mind. And I think that's the other thing about creating value regularly, is that when you're providing people value, and even if you're like, actually a really great example is this Vessi footwear. They're in Vancouver. They have an amazing social presence. They're waterproof shoes. Super cute as well. But
testimonial. They get a testimonial.
Yeah, totally. But so I was just looking at possibly buying a pair of shoes. So that's the only reason they came to mind. But they, on their social, they talk about way more things than shoes or footwear or anything. They have like cooking videos and little, I don't know, like Q&A posts and stuff. But when I thought of a new pair of cool shoes from a local business, I immediately thought of them because I'm already taking in their content. So I think, just speaking to what you were pointing out, I think showing up reliably and consistency is so important. But why it's really important. So again, free. It's a free way to market. It's also, yeah, as you said, the way people are going to find you. So if you have kind of a crappy Facebook page and you don't have a website, like if you're just starting out and you haven't put a lot of effort into that, whenever anyone looks you up, which they're only going to do online, the only thing they're going to find is a kind of half-assed Facebook page. So I think it's really, really important to make sure you have at least just a really nice, like, kind of landing page on a whole bunch of different platforms. And then, of course, you can implement the showing up regularly and high quality content kind of from there. So that's really important. I think it's also really important because consumers have so many options right now for everything. Like, there are a million things for every single thing you could ever want to purchase. So I think a lot of consumers, especially younger consumers, are looking to people who they can, relate to and trust, and they really want to love their story and like fall in love with the brand. And so I think if you can show up and show people that you have an amazing story that's worth supporting, an amazing brand that has great values, that you're going to be, their top pick, right? If they're already following along on your Instagram stories and they love what you're all about, then you're going to be their go-to when they're looking for that product or service. So I think that's really important to remember, is that, like, the social media is the new phone book. So that's really important. But more than that, I think there's so many options now that it's really important to try to stand out in that way. How much research do you think people are doing before they actually pick a product or a person to work with? As far as research, I'm not sure if I do a whole bunch of research before I purchase anything. But I think that's the thing about having amazing platforms set up for your business. So for example, if you follow along already on a cool, Instagram account, or, you've pinned a few Pinterest pins from a certain brand, then again, it's the coming to mind really quickly. So this is why, like, I show up regularly, and I know not everyone is going to book a photo session every time they look at my latest Instagram posts. But if I mention that I'm a photographer, and I mention my story and how I, what I think of when I do my photo shoots and my philosophy on photography and all of that, then I think when someone thinks of getting some photos done for their business, the first thing that's going to come to mind, hopefully, is me. And so I think that's just something to keep in mind, is it's not actually about selling all the time. It's just about being top of mind when someone's thinking about that product or service.
So I go to all of my conferences and I wear flu vogs, and I'm known for my flu vogs.
So awesome. You and Bonnie Henry.
Yes. So when Dr. Bonnie Henry was wearing her flu vogs, everyone's like, Jade, tagging me in all these CBC posts.
Totally. Yeah, it's like associating you with the certain products.
It's
cool.
funny. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk actionable steps that someone can take to make their social media better. So obviously consistency is one.
Yes. Yeah. So the top one I was going to say is, just show up regularly. Just pick your days that you want to show up and do it regularly. That's going to make a huge difference. So I have a little list here. Let me look at my other
list. Go ahead.
So my other one is, so that was number one. My second one is putting aside a certain period of time every day to go and engage with your audience. So this can be done in a lot of ways. So I usually said it's just 10 minutes. I go and I look at different hashtags are really good for this. So for example, on Facebook or Instagram, if you look up a hashtag, actually LinkedIn is really good for this too. If you look up a certain hashtag that relates to your business, so if we want to take real estate, if you looked up YYJ real estate, and then you went and saw kind of different people who were showcasing homes, or maybe you want to look up like YYJ homes and see if there's any people who are looking at different houses saying, oh, I love this, or oh, I'd love to live here, or things like that, and commenting and engaging with those people. So finding the right accounts to be engaging with. And you don't actually have to go follow them. It's about going and commenting on them or sharing their posts and kind of trying to create that collaboration. So that is a second way. So putting aside time every day, even just 10 minutes, to engage with your potential target audience.
Okay.
And then the last one is...
Sorry, question. So do we want to have it at the same time every day, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter. No, it's just about, again, doing it regularly. So posting consistently. So picking days, you don't have to pick a time, although there are different times that are actually better to post, and you can find that in your analytics on any of your apps. But no, there's no like ideal time to engage. It's really nice to reply to comments really quickly. That often helps the algorithm quite a bit. So if you post a photo and then you come back maybe an hour later and reply to a bunch of comments that have come up, that's really good for having your post show up. Specifically Facebook and
Somebody mentioned we have time, so don't worry.
I know I talk fast. My apologies.
Somebody mentioned it was Brianna Dye, who is the daughter of Sandra Yancey with the Women Network, and she was saying at this platinum conference that we were at that if you go to a post and you just like give it a heart, it's kind of like when you go to a party and someone says, "Hi, how are you?" and you go,
"Yeah."
It's totally. Kind of you need a little more engagement.
You totally do. And actually, what's kind of fun too that I didn't realize right away was engaging. This is another fun way to engage, actually. So there's certain things that qualify as engaging. So the liking, again, kind of lame, especially now that there's no numbers associated with it. So it's not even that you're helping someone like achieve a higher ranking or anything like that. It's just kind of acknowledging you've seen it. Yeah. So commenting is, of course, super, super valuable. But actually something else that qualifies specifically on Instagram is if you send those photos to other people. So if you see a photo you love and you save it, that's one way of doing it. So you can actually just save it and it can be in your saved photos, and you can kind of look through those and use that as maybe inspiration or ideas for posts that you could kind of mimic. Or sending it in a direct message. So that actually qualifies as engaging as well. So if you have a chat on your Instagram and you kind of send like inspirational quotes, my mom and I do that sometimes, where we like send inspirational quotes back and forth.
I'm not the only one who does that.
It's awesome.
Send them to my kids. My kids are sorry.
No. But that qualifies as engaging with those posts as well. So it's kind of fun. There's like lots of different ways. You don't just have to like the photo, because that is a pretty, not exciting way to engage with someone's content for sure.
Yeah. What about engagement groups? where you have like 20 people and you each comment on each other's posts. Does that help everybody out?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. That would be almost like that's like a strategy. That's like cheating the system almost. No, that's a great idea. Yeah, because the more engagement you get, the better. And the more you engage, the better too, because it really shows that you're invested in other people's accounts and what other people are doing. And as you said, you don't just want to be interesting, you want to be interested in what other people are doing. And then what also really helps too is like tagging other businesses in like stories or in other posts. So it makes sure that maybe on Facebook or LinkedIn, it would be shown in their feed saying, oh, this person, attended this conference with this person or did a talk or whatever. And that's really helpful because it'll show up in more than one place on Facebook and LinkedIn. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of ideas like engagement. There's so many ways to do it. And you can just look it up. They're super easy too. Again, like sending posts back and forth with your mom, like that counts as engaging on Instagram, which is great because it really boosts you in the algorithm for sure.
Okay. What I find interesting is sometimes like I give a shout out to somebody and I tag them and then they don't respond. I'm like, I get really bummed out about that. I feel
Aww.
like shouting them out to the world, which I am. It's a
Yeah.
testimonial essentially, and then I hear nothing and I think, so you really have to acknowledge it when it comes through.
You totally do. And it's possible also that like maybe someone like that isn't going on their social platforms regularly. And again, that hurts them because you're probably less likely to shout them out again if they're not going to respond, even just with like a thanks so much or you're awesome or whatever. So showing up regularly, even just to respond to comments or even just to acknowledge things that are happening, regarding you and your business on those platforms is really important. Because again, you want to cultivate more people to do that, right? You want to encourage everybody to shout you out if they have a positive experience. So making sure you're showing up again, even just for a few minutes to make sure you've acknowledged all the different comments and stuff is super, super important.
Okay. Anything else?
The last one would just be to have an idea of who your clientele is, so who your target audience. And I think this is just important in honestly business plans. But the amount of people who just tell me their target audience is everybody, I'm like, no, just even pick a couple things. And I think that helps so much, even just in other marketing too, in print advertisement or in your photography you do for your business or anything like that. Knowing who you're talking to is so, so important, specifically on social, just because that's who you're targeting and that's who you're wanting to engage with. But I think it's helpful all over. And a bunch of this stuff is helpful all over. Like, again, being interested in what other people are doing and showing up regularly. And I think that applies not just on social, but in real life for sure.
And I think what you're saying too is if you're going to pick the platform, the reason why you want to pick a few platforms, it's like if you're going to niche the people in a certain way, it's better to have be approaching them consistently. So I use LinkedIn, a little bit, and I go in every once in a while and I find old posts, and I'm like a terrible LinkedIn person, but but for Facebook and all that, I'm really good. And I find, now as well, we have a unique opportunity where we have time. So actually, I did a post today for some realtors, and one of the things I suggested was engaging in your clients. Now is the time to engage in your clients. We have the
Totally.
opportunity to restart a whole year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you help people with their social media business plan?
I do, yeah. So I do a whole bunch of stuff. So I do content creation. So I'm a photographer and I do basic graphic design. So I can come up with a bunch of different social posts. I also do writing and blog writing and newsletter writing. So a whole bunch of stuff like that. So yeah, I've really done a bunch of customized plans for all my different clients, just because everyone needs something really different. As you said, like if LinkedIn isn't your platform, you're not going to need help reaching out and making connections there. But managing your Instagram or making sure your Pinterest is like full and being, posted on regularly. I really help people with things like that. I've also helped set up like branding. So if someone doesn't really have a clear idea of what their brand is or what their story is that they're telling, I can help kind of focus that in and make sure we're talking to the right people and engaging with the right people. So I do like platform management as well. So do like scheduling posts and making sure we're engaging. So yeah, a whole bunch of stuff, and it's super fun. And every client I've had has had so much fun too. I think a lot of it is also teaching people about how to best use the platform, because I think
Yeah.
lots of people know what they know, but then it's hard work, like keeping up with all the different trends and all the changes and shifts. So it's nice having someone say, "Oh, actually, did you know you could do this?" And so I really like teaching people how to use it better themselves as well.
I'm finding that social media is changing a lot right now. Like, I
Mhm.
think it was just recently, the advent of group rooms and groups.
Yes, yeah,
And have you used those?
no.
I haven't either. I'm supposed to go visit one today, and I
Oh,
don't.
cool.
What's the
Tell me how
purpose
it goes.
of this? And apparently, it's like Zoom. So
Oh, interesting. Well, I know like I've used Facebook Messenger for doing lots of like Zoom type calls because they have that kind of FaceTime feature. And I find a lot of time like Facebook tries to kind of imitate what other platforms are doing to try to draw more people into using their platform for that same purpose, which is really cool if you find it more intuitive to use or more helpful. But a lot of them are doing a lot of the same things, I find. So you kind of just find the one that works best for you and use that. But yeah, lots of things are changing. TikTok is super big, which is crazy.
I was going to say,
I feel
yeah,
too old for TikTok for some reason, but
you're too old.
I don't know, or I'm too young. I can't figure it out quite yet.
So we were talking about it the other day in a real estate group about the use of TikTok in real estate, and I'm like, this is a big
Yeah.
dark hole you can just go down into. Don't you think?
It,
Can you hear me?
sorry, I didn't catch that.
It's a big hole that you
Yes.
can go into, and you can like never come out of it. They were talking about how much of a time suck it is, but also they were saying that the young kids don't like it that if their parents get onto TikTok because they could start seeing them on that platform.
Oh, so fun. Well,
Okay,
it's very similar to Snapchat, what Snapchat was a few years ago.
so what is the next big thing coming up on social media, do you think? What's your prediction?
Um, Prediction is I think we're going to start to see a lot more like direct communication. I really see like direct messaging going up quite a bit, like using social to keep in touch with friends. I think that's been going up like crazy. Also, people spending way more time on it and using it much more for that social connection, that kind of face to face even interaction, like using Facebook to, yeah, keep in touch with people face to face, or coming up with different apps to kind of create more like personal, less filtered, more authentic posts so that you're kind of keeping in touch with people almost like it's real life. I really see a trend towards that. There's much less like editing going on lots of images and videos. So I see definitely going more towards that. So more just like real life type content coming out, which is kind of fun because I think it opens it up to people who are maybe not master video editors and stuff like that to really still be in that kind of high level. So that'll be fun. I'm excited to kind of see what comes from that for sure.
I find that people are way more forgiving of how people communicate online now because they
Mhm.
expect you to be human and not perfect. I know that there's some coaches in the US who have, made mistakes on camera and they're like, it's okay, whatever. Michelle B,
Yeah,
so
totally.
sorry, is saying Facebook rooms are the next big thing. I think AI might be artificial intelligence and auto responders, which to me kind of take away from the whole part of it. And
Mhm.
I don't know if this is exists, but some sort of funnel that funnels everything into one space because I'm finding now like I get messages through a multitude of different programs and I'm like, where did I get that message? Did they text me or whatever? So is something like
Yeah.
that
Have
coming?
you ever have you ever watched The Office?
No.
Oh, okay. They have a great scene in that where someone creates it's called Woof, I think, or something, but it's like you send one message and it goes to every single place. So it's like fax, phone call, text, Facebook message, and it all comes in at the same time. It's quite funny. And it's just all these dings happening. It's very overwhelming. He's like, look how simple it is. And it's just all these beeps going on. Very funny. But yeah, I agree. think getting everything onto kind of one more solid platform. It'll be interesting to see kind of how that goes though, because there's so many more apps coming out even just daily, like with TikTok happening, and again, just so many new things happening all the time. It'll be really interesting to see how people try to simplify and cut back, especially when maybe we have less time inside and people are trying to spend more time face to face with people. So it'll be interesting to see how people try to simplify from there.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, well, this has been awesome. Michelle B. Belisari is saying so to Jane about the filter. Okay, so best way to get in touch with you is how? Follow you on Instagram?
So my website is, yes, follow me on Instagram. Head to my website, bellewhite.ca, and you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, all just at Belle White. One thing I was going to mention too is if you sign up for my weekly newsletter, so I just have like a lifestyle newsletter that I send out once a week. If you sign up for that on my website, you get a free Instagram guide that kind of lays out how to create a really goal-oriented Instagram account. I created that as a free resource for small businesses. So if anyone is looking for more tips specifically for by signing up for my newsletter.
Okay, well, that's a great call to action. You should be in sales.
Oh, thanks. I feel very out of my depth on this camera though, so I don't know.
That's okay. It's normal. Don't worry about it. After a month, you get used to it.
True.
Well, I really enjoyed meeting with you, and I hope to see you. And
thank you so much.
Yeah,
so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for having me. So nice.
No problem. You've gotten great tips. And okay, so I'm just going to go over storytelling for your brand, know your target audience, so really niche your market, engage, which means comment and work within your community, be consistent, and offer items of high quality and value, right?
Mm-hmm. Good one. That's all 5.
Yay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So on Monday, we're not going to be here because it's a long weekend. So on Tuesday, we're going to do our update with our lawyer, mediator, and financial divorce consultant, because this is a stressful time and we know that everybody needs help. And then Wednesday, we're going to be talking to a lawyer about buying with other people. So if you're interested in learning how to purchase property and you don't quite qualify yourself right now, you want to qualify with somebody else, how to set up an arrangement so you can buy and sell and have an agreement how it's going to end as well as how it's going to start. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking to a store in downtown Victoria about how they have adapted to COVID-19 and have pivoted their business and become very successful. And we have next Friday free. So if you're interested or you know somebody who will offer value to our community, please get them to message me through Facebook so that I have a record of it. And I'll get in touch with them. All right. Thank you so much, Belle. I really enjoyed meeting you, and you honestly, you impressed me. So well done.
Oh, lovely to meet you too. Thanks so much, Jane.
Okay, no problem. All right. We'll see you later, you guys. Have a great long weekend.